Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Fantasy Six Packs, DraftKings Week 12 main slate cash game preview. We're just not good at titles, Joe. I don't know if that's the best name for a show, but it's Keith and Joe.
That's
you know
fair.
us.
That's fair.
It's Joe the Brain, Keith Flemming. Apologies for last week. Went to Vegas, had a little too many edibles and fun and stuff, and I was like, you know what, Joe? On second thought, fuck you, I'm not doing the show. But we're back this week. Man, what a wild slate we're gonna talk about for the main slate. Backup QBs, oh my. Important receivers and running backs ruled out, some questionable, but I kind of hate to do this to the millions and millions, or more like dozens and dozens of people out there watching this, because I'm sure you're here to listen to us talk about DFS. But Joe, I need a quick therapy session on my Atlanta Falcons. Everything is awful, and I hate it. Just to kind of let you know where we're at right now. Michael Penix, who, if I'm being honest, like it's been hit or miss, but I think there's been more positives than negatives. And the worst that could have possibly happened just did. He tore his ACL again late in the season, which puts next year into concerns. I have to watch Kirk Cousins, who we gave $100 million guaranteed, by the way, to try to salvage us not giving the 8-2 and best team in the NFC, LA Rams, a top 5 draft pick, which, ladies and gentlemen, that is now a distinct possibility because we're 9th right now. We have 3 wins, and this team is now 5-13 over their last 18 games with Raheem Morris. Do not forget about the 6-2 start last year. And I've been.
I legitimately had forgotten. You guys started 6-2 last year.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And among like the stuff that is just in the basically since the turn of the century, 98 Super Bowl, we have our Man of the Year nominee get arrested for soliciting a prostitute the same night that he got the award, which happened to be the day before the game.
I mean, the guy went to celebrate,
and then he gets burned on the very first drive, probably because his mind was somewhere else. And we get housed by the Broncos after beating, I still think, one of the best non-Super Bowl teams ever in that 98 Vikings team, and just an unbelievable NFC title game. We confused a lot of people by giving up a lot to get Michael Vick. Turned out to be the right decision. He was hitting his prime. More importantly, it was the first athlete in my lifetime in Atlanta that I felt like the whole nation was jealous that we had as a sports fandom. And I thought he was about to become the best athlete ever. Still probably my most beloved. And then he goes and does like the one thing that made me hate him, because you know how much I love dogs and animals. And
That's
so we lose him in the most painful way possible. We get Matt Ryan, who the fans were against. He's great. Then in 2012, we blow a double-digit lead to Colin Kaepernick. I was in the building, NFC title game. I think we could have beat the Ravens that year in the Super Bowl.
I was going to say, very winnable Super Bowl. Obviously, Flacco was on a heater. Ravens D still could step up, but that was not some.
That was a good Falcons team, too.
Well,
I actually think about them, it was better than the 2016, because Roddy White was just still a beast at that point. We had just got Julio.
It's true, both.
And Tony G. And so then obviously 28-3. Don't have to tell you about that. But 2017, people forget the Philadelphia Eagles that went on to win the Super Bowl. We had 4 shots from inside the 7 in the last minute of that game, touchdown, and we're moving on to the NFC title game for a second consecutive year.
Yep.
And again, I think would have had a legit chance to win the Super Bowl. We have not made the playoffs since. That is us and the Carolina Panthers, the second longest playoff drought of 7 years. The Jets, I feel so bad for the Jets. They're longer, 2010.
I was going to say,
It's
collectively,
outrageous.
everyone except like even Browns fans, I think
Right.
might feel bad for the Jets. Even
Yep.
them.
I
I mean,
mean,
the Giants and Jets, it's
15
like
years is an eternity,
two worst
Joe,
records,
and
but yeah.
without a playoff appearance. The NFL
right.
has more
Mark
teams
Sanchez
and
and Rex
turnover
Ryan.
in the playoffs every single year. Like we
Yeah.
talk every year when we do like our predictions. It's like, well, you pretty much can write down
Got it.
3 to 4 new
Yeah.
playoff teams every year. So who are those going to be? Who's going to be the playoff teams that don't make it? But anyway, so that's really bad. I am still on the record that passing on Jalen Carter for Bijan, colossal mistake. All you have to do is look at Philadelphia the last couple of weeks with him batting down passes and running over offensive tackles. And Bijan's incredible. He's a luxury. We haven't had a winning season since 2017. We don't need luxuries. We need difference makers every single play. And then, oh, by the way, we took Kyle Pitts 4th overall in a draft that in the next 7 picks, Jamar Chase, arguably the best wide receiver. Penei Sewell, arguably the best offensive tackle. Michael Parsons, arguably the best defensive end edge rusher. And Patrick Surtain, arguably the best cornerback. All were drafted afterwards. And we had our pick, if you remember, because it was 3 QBs that went in the first 3 selections of literally any player on the board. And we're like, we'll take the tight end, the highest anybody's ever taken them before. Joe, I'm not kidding that 28-3 was obviously a low point. Like it was
sure.
awful.
Most devastating for sure.
I'm more depressed right now about the state of this franchise than I am after that loss, even though I knew in the moment that team would never win a Super Bowl. Right. Because it just, teams don't typically come back the year after a Super Bowl anyway, but especially the way they lost it. That's why if they had won the Philly game, they probably made me believe and then somehow lost the Super Bowl in heartbreaking fashion again. But anyways, do you have anything positive you think you could say? Is there anything that can salvage this mess? Because again, the LA Rams are going to have probably a top 10, maybe top 5 pick next year.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about embarrassment of riches if they want to go ahead and get that QB that they don't have right now to be the next after Stafford? They're in a position they can take it. If they just want to double down with another defensive stud or offensive stud, they want to draft the next wide receiver. Devontae Adams is getting old. Like, there's a million places they can go. More importantly, as my wife pointed out, at least that's why we can't screw it up, though, Joe. I guess that could be a glass half full thing. We can't screw up the draft pick if we don't have it.
Yeah, you can't be angry about the pick on draft day. Obviously, I expect you'll be pretty angry on draft day regardless. I don't have a lot to say about the team that feels really good. Obviously, you have studs at wide receiver and at running back and
a wide receiver.
A wide receiver.
That's the scary part with London out this week is we don't have very much depth at receiver. It's pretty rough
going. But the defense outside of whatever happened last week has been generally solid. But
Billy Bowman's now also out for the year.
I saw that
in practice. Who was also just one of 4 really good defenders. Like Pierce has been good. Walker's a stud,
right? I guess that would be maybe the upside is even if that those picks, obviously the trade does not look like it'll be worth it, but
it's not.
The fact that you didn't also miss on the pick,
right?
That would be worse.
Turned it into Bowman and Pierce, in fairness, because we did get back I think a 3rd or 4th rounder, and that's where we got Bowman.
2 contributors. The main thing I would say is, because I just read an article today on The Athletic about some of the teams that could potentially be looking to move on from their GMs this year. And then you scroll down to the comments, and it's Bills fans saying Brandon Beane should be on this list. And then it's Vikings fans being like, why isn't Adolfo Mensa on the list?
Was Terry on the list?
Terry was on the list.
Okay.
And then it's just comments going back and forth between people being like, Joe Shane's the one who's the most he should be gone. And then Falcons fans being like, no, it's Terry. He's got to be gone. So of course, everyone thinks their situation is the worst. Obviously sometimes I think, if you're a Bills fan, I get the frustration because you want to win a Super Bowl.
I give anything to be a Bills fan.
Yeah,
I've never had that in my lifetime where the Falcons have been good. We've never made the playoffs more than 2 years
5
in a
straight
row.
years or whatever.
No, 2 years in a row, Joe.
Right.
That's the most we've ever made the playoffs back to back. Bills have 6-7 years in a row? They're gonna win a chip with them. I believe that. I do in my soul.
I was gonna say in my fandom era, The Giants made it 4 in a row once, which was, that was pretty nice. So missed those days. Yeah. But yeah, everyone thinks their situation is the worst. Admittedly, I think I agree with you that yours is probably the worst right now.
Browns and Jets are literally the only two teams I would rather not.
And at least the Jets can be like, all right, cool.
Draft picks.
Double draft. Like they have the choice this year. They can be like, if we want a quarterback, we will 100%. We should be able to get that quarterback. We've got 2
Maybe
picks.
They can trade for Sam Darnold.
One of them's going to be in the top 5. And then if they're like, we don't love these guys, let's punt until next year. Obviously, it'll suck as Jets.
I think next year is the QB class, right?
Supposed to be better, which granted they said that last year, so you never know.
And in 2021.
Yeah, a lot of the top guys, it seems like this year will probably come back. Like, Moore from Oregon. A number of these guys have only started one season, so it makes sense for them to go back. So if they want to just be like, cool, let's do next year. Plus, they probably aren't going to be significantly better, so they'll be top 10 again. And, what are the odds the Colts are, having one of the 5 best records next season? I don't think very high, even though.
I'll push back against that.
I just think, first of all, if Anarumo gets hired as a head coach, which is possible.
That's a fair concern.
Is your defense as good? Obviously, as we've seen, even with the Eagles this year, who could end up being the 1 seed again, it seems like if that happens, it's going to be powered by the defense. It's not going to be powered by Saquon Barkley, which I think that would be a bigger issue in Indy if we saw a similar. He's still good, but he's not, the MVP.
Come on now. Jonathan Taylor's got a lot less miles and is a lot younger. Doesn't have the injury history.
He doesn't. He's had not the major injury history, but he's been banged up pretty.
And that Indy O-line is the other reason why I love him, is you have a running back still in his prime.
Right, but we would have
great offensive line, where the Eagles' offensive line seems to be getting worse.
Right, but that would be my point: is would we have predicted? Oh, the Eagles line will be okay this year instead of top 5. Probably not. Like some regression maybe, but last year they'd already lost their, all pro center.
Yeah.
And then, now this year with Lane gone. The other thing I'll remind you is Jonathan Taylor had 926 carries in college. So
that's fair.
This was a massive usage guy in college.
Point.
So, and then also Houston, if you're assuming Stroud can play all 17 games and that the line is.
What do you mean? They're better with Davis Mills.
Passed off. Yeah. It's insane that I saw someone like, well, if Stroud's still their QB of the future, I was like, what are we talking about? This is the
Look, Stroud's really good, people. It's not Stroud that has been
the D-line had 8 sacks yesterday. That's why they beat Buffalo, because they have the best defense in the NFL with 2 insane edges. So, again, that team's better. Jacksonville.
No, don't do it, Joe. No.
Hard to predict.
I can predict it. Pain for their fans.
Probably, but at the same time, if this coaching staff is in year 2, if they're building the team the way they want to build it, maybe that team's even better than they are this year, possibly. And the Titans can't be worse. So it's going to be harder on the Colts next year. So,
and you're all right, though.
The Jets,
they have
good
to play
situation.
A first or second place schedule, which that could be a huge deal.
It makes a difference.
All right, so I'm sorry. I completely sidetracked the show for 14 minutes, but I needed that, Joe. Thank you. Even though
glad you could cleanse yourself.
There's nothing really there. I need to get it all off my chest.
I get it.
I am so disappointed by the news that I saw as we were doing my 6 p.m. Friday Vibe show on Optimus Fantasy with my boy Nate Polvic. To see Jackson Dart has been ruled out. How high I've been on Dart. Like I honestly, I've said this to you offline. I don't think I've said it on the show. I can't get over how good he is. He's good. Like, he's really good. I don't care what people want to try to say. They'll try to show certain stats or whatever. I'm like, he's lost Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
Cam Scatterboo. And their offense continued to get better week after week with him starting. And this was despite the head coach, who they rightfully fired, trying to murder him by having him have the most design runs in the NFL.
That's true.
Despite only starting 7 games.
He doesn't help himself, obviously, with some of the decision
Well, that's what I'm
making he
saying.
makes
That's why
on
it's
running.
crazy to be
But
having
you're
a bunch
right.
of designed
Like
runs.
the designed runs are designed runs. Like you can say he should get down more, but yeah, should he have like the second most designed runs in all of the NFL? I think
Right.
behind Justin
7
Fields.
games. Yep.
And it only started 7 games. Again, I think you really got to be judicious with that stuff. I think the Bills have generally
Would you play
been
him
pretty
rest of
good
year?
with Josh Allen. Oh, absolutely. I would
you
make
would?
sure. Oh, I think you want the reps.
Would
Now,
you be okay shutting him down, though? Because, like, to me, I just want to, at this point, I've seen enough. I just want him healthy coming into next year. You've already lost a franchise wide receiver and a running back that looked like he was going to be a real force. And I just, like, as somebody who just lost their young quarterback, right?
Right.
I'd hate for y'all to be in that situation. And this is one of those deals that's a net positive. You have your first round pick. Actually think they're making the right decision if they're going, look, bro, we love your guts. We love what we've seen. You're a warrior, but we got to think long term because I think you guys could turn this thing around quickly. Like you got a pass rush.
The potential.
You help out the secondary. You get Neighbors back. Say Scatterboo comes back healthy. Like,
yeah,
again, with a last play schedule, which you would assume you probably have if Dart doesn't play rest of the season.
Washington could give us a run for our money here.
Well, Jameis is here not only to save the day for DFS, but also for that last place finish. Let's start there then with the QBs because I was all in on Dart. Like Dart and Brissett were going to be my 2 QBs yet again.
Pretty much. Like we said, every week with Dart, there's never been a reason outside of, I guess, the concussion risk to not go with him.
Well, he got a concussion 2 weeks ago. Right. He still scored 23 points in less than 3 quarters. So
exactly. So yeah, I mean, he was hyper productive.
You know how many points he's averaging on the ground this year in his 7 starts, Joe?
He has a lot. I think he has like the second or third most rushing touchdowns among quarterbacks.
10.3 fantasy points per game. He had scored 7 or more in all 7 starts. Thrown a passing touchdown in 6 of 7. Scored a rushing touchdown in 6 of 7. Rushed for 50-plus yards in 5 of 7. And the reason I loved him besides all that is Detroit is going to feast. This is a dream matchup. Jamar Gibbs is on the ultimate heater. Your run defense is still really bad.
There's a lot of issues.
But more importantly, as the man split guy, I know we're going to have some fun stuff to talk about.
We are.
About the Lions at home and their 2 stud wide receivers who are facing a Giants defense that runs man at one of the highest rates in the NFL. And the reason I say that's good for Dart, and I think it's great for Winston being in the 4K range is, I think similar to the Arizona games the last couple of weeks that got out of hand quickly, and no surprise, Jacoby Brissett and all these crazy people had big games because it was basically garbage time for 2 to 3 quarters. I think that's what's going to happen in Detroit. And you can stack Winston and Slayton, who, by the way, was not there for Winston's other start. And I would say Slayton is the most important piece to a successful Jameis Winston because what does Winston excel at? He's very good at throwing the ball down the field. And Darius Slayton, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, like, is Darius Slayton like a top receiver? No, but he's very dangerous down the field. I think that opens everything else for Wan'Dale Robinson, your tight ends. Devin Singletary is actually showing some life, the last couple of weeks. I just think Winston in the 4K has to be considered, don't you? I think he's 47 or 4,800.
Yeah, I think the whole key to this is it has to get out of hand because I think the game plan is what we saw against Green Bay, where as long as we're in the game, the Giants, you want to run the ball, you want to control the clock.
The difference I forgot to add too, though, is Detroit is almost impossible to run on. So they're not even going to have that option.
Detroit's defense is a step up, especially on the interior. And yeah, like you said too, I mean, we've seen this Green Bay offense has kind of been
awful,
ebbing and flowing throughout the year.
Well, it's been pretty bad since Kraft's been gone.
Yeah, and I think that's that feels like
That's
the
fair,
killer to
right?
this
Yeah.
team. I know maybe the full collection of receivers once
No.
Reed gets back. Maybe
You
that
lose a
changes some
Gronk
things.
type guy, it's a big
He
blow.
was playing like that. And I will say Jordan Love, if you watch that Giants game, the reason that they scored 27 points and won that game was because he just made some absolute dime throws and Watson caught him.
He does make some crazy throws, though. You'll look and like he's letting it go, and he's not even like set or looking in the direction of the receiver, and you're going, "What is that?" And the next thing you know, it's a dime, and I'm like, "Oh, okay."
He's second or third in EPA per dropback this
Wow.
season. Like, I feel like people don't realize like Jordan Love's actually playing
good.
super well.
He's really good.
It's the again, another team every year. We're like, oh, that's a really good offensive line. Not this year.
Yep.
Just kind of a mediocre group.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really changed things. But like you said, going to be harder to do that ball control offense that the Giants want to do with Jameis as a QB. And then B, the chances that this isn't a 30-point game for the Lions feels really small. So I think you get those exact
Campbell's probably going to be reminding everyone after this game again, I'm calling the plays now.
Right, because he's had the one awesome game against the shitty Washington defense.
I didn't see him say anything though about I'm the play caller. It would have been funny after the game, Joe, if he was like, I gave the play calling duties back to
We're gonna do every other game, and you just like look at the schedule. You're like, I see why you're doing that.
It's like I'll take.
But and also, again, like you said, with the Philadelphia defense right now, with what they've got going, then adding Jalen Phillips, that defensive line is insane. The Giants theoretically had a defensive line that might cause a lot of problems. Hasn't really been consistently doing that at all.
A lot of injuries, though.
And then the back end, well, Thibodeau's out, and then at the back end, Adebo's still out. And then, again, this is already a team that struggles to cover.
Below average at corner, and then you take away their best one.
The best one. It's problematic. So, yeah, I think they're putting up 20 probably in the first half. Jameis is in full, we just got to fire it somewhere downfield mode for the entire second half. And then, yeah, like you said, that Slayton combo will cost you nothing. So 100%. Is
that who you would stack, or would you potentially consider stacking him with Wandell? Because I think it's Slayton because of the cost. You could also talk me into Theo Johnson. I wonder if Slayton being on
Theo
there
might be the one I would go with.
What did he do in the first game of Winston? I didn't even see.
No, it was only 3 catches for 36 yards on 4 targets. But he's all.
It's like 3,800, right? Uh-oh. You there, Joe?
Vicious he could play us, but yeah, so they run a ton of man. Theo's better against man than he is zone. So to me, it's Theo or it's Slayton. Those would be the two I would be really looking at. So,
and if it's a MME, you could do a double stack very easily and still spend up a bunch of positions.
Will cost you nothing.
So with the news though, for cash, I'm going to be starting Brissett pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, I was going to say
he's feeding
Brissett's the guy I want.
Fantasy football families right now since taking over. Let's go over some of this fun stuff. So, what do we talk about all the time, Joe? 1 or 2, even 3 games, that can be an anomaly. You get to 5 games, this is data, right? Like this is a pattern. He scored 19 plus points in all 5 starts, QB 12 or better in all 5 starts. He's actually been QB 10 or better in 4 or 5, multiple passing touchdowns in all 5, averaging over 3 points per game with his legs. Not the runner that he used to be, but still giving you the free points, which is huge, especially with a guy that's a value. And then to me, one of the biggest added bonuses is the fact that Arizona's defense is awful. They're allowing over 30 points per game in the 5 since he's been named the starter, and they seem to be getting worse, having giving up 40 plus points in consecutive games. And then it just is an unbelievable situation. I actually think you should start Brissett, McBride, and then if you want to do Michael Wilson, I think that's going to be the more popular play. I'm going with Greg Dortch and saving the extra money.
Okay.
But I think it makes a ton of sense. I'll do the whole McBride thing when we talk about tight ends. But Jacksonville is just so bad versus tight ends. Like, if you have McBride, you should feel so good about getting at least 20 points this week. It's insane. So even with his high price tag, I think he's got to be in your lineup. And then, like I said, with Dortch or Wilson, you can play either one of them. But May's got a great matchup. I think Lamar's got a great chance to have that bounce back. Like there's a lot of good options, but I I can't not play Brissett at this price with how manageable it is to stack him with, a single or double stack against a Jacksonville team that, like, literally my only concern would be, well, maybe the Jags offense can't do what, these teams have the last couple of weeks, but the Jags offense is all of a sudden, I think, scoring 30 points per game over their last, like, 2 or 3. So I think it is going to be just another shootout.
Yeah, I mean, the Jags, like you said, the offense can kind of have another team that, like, you never really know what you're getting there. But, yeah, a Cardinals defense has not been playing well lately. And more importantly, just looking at the Brissett matchup. But prior to last week, when they faced a Chargers team that just cannot block anyone right now, which is a problem when Josh Hines Allen is on the other side.
Yes, it is.
But 4 games prior to that, they gave up 13 passing touchdowns, at least 2 in every single game. And yeah, 2 of those were against the Seahawks and the Rams, and maybe that's all understandable. But the other 2 were against the Raiders and the Davis Mills Texans. Again, this is a team that blew a huge lead in the fourth quarter.
Davis Mills is going, Joe, I did it last night versus Buffalo, you asshole.
That's true. The other thing is 5 of their last, again, we're ignoring the Chargers game. 5 of the prior 6 weeks, they gave up at least 284 yards in the air. So at minimum,
280 plus 4 or 5, you said?
5 of 6.
5 of 6.
The only one that wasn't was the Rams. The Rams only threw for $182, but the other 5 were at least flirting with that 300-yard bonus.
And remember, the Rams game was one that it was another one at like 28-0 in the blink of an eye or something crazy.
I have not double checked, but
because I think that was a London game or something, and I woke up and I was like, "Oh my god, this game's already." I think Adams had like 3 touchdowns and only like 40 yards receiving. I'm pretty sure that is that game.
No, that was a low-scoring game. It was only 20-12. So I think.
Oh, wow. What game?
Oh no, wait. Wait. I'm looking at the Seattle game. You're right. It was. It's 35-7.
Okay.
It was over quick.
And that was the Adams 3 touchdown game, right?
Yeah, I think so. So yeah. I'm right. He threw a bunch of touchdowns, even though it was only $182. But yeah,
I'm saying they didn't throw it at all. Hardly, they didn't have to.
Right, and they still got all those touchdowns.
Yeah,
and in part that's because the Jags' run defense is much better than their pass defense when they're not facing the Chargers O-line. So yeah, to me, it's fire up Brissett, and like you said, I think there's one combination that if you're doing Brissett, you have to do McBride. It would be insane not to me. I will say maybe the best argument for Wilson is I don't have any good news on this. I don't have good news on those splits. Both he and Dortch better against zone than man, or better against man than zone, and Jags trend more towards the zone side of things.
I mean, most receivers are, though, to be fair.
Yeah, a lot of guys are.
We'll talk about why Rashee Rice is one of my favorite plays because he's one of the few opposites and he's playing a
But
team
the reason I would maybe go Wilson over Dortch, although the pricing, and like you said, I think depending on if you're not doing a smaller field,
right?
A lot of people are going to be on Wilson. But per FTN's charting, Jags give up 80 yards per game to number 1 wide receivers, and I would say that would be Michael Wilson as long as Harrison's out. Right. Only 3 teams give up more to number 1s. Against 2s and 3s, under 40 yards.
Who is the 2 that give up more? You don't have it right in front of you.
3. Yeah, no, I have it. The Steelers are the worst, then the Giants, then the Ravens. Although
I thought the Colts were up there. Are they not up there anymore?
They are not up there.
I remember about 3-4 weeks ago they were first. I need to edit something that I put in my article.
No, the Colts are awful against 2s. They are dead last, 76 yards given up to 2.
Hello, Xavier Worthy.
So yeah, that could be an interesting play potentially. But yeah,
that's great.
Steelers,
stuff,
Ravens, Giants are the 3 that are worse.
280 plus 5 of 6.
Giants.
And you said 13 passing touchdowns in their last 4, excluding
the Chargers game.
Which again, that's a fan base I do feel really bad for. Any other
every year?
Any other QBs you want to talk about before we get on to running backs? Because we have, I'm sure, a much wider pool at these positions. Tight end and quarterbacks very thin in my plays.
I will say
2 or 3 guys.
Depending on what you're going to do with the rest of your lineup, I don't hate spending up on a couple of these quarterbacks just because I think they're so well set up to have massive games. And that would be, to me, May and Lamar. Again, by DVOA, 2 worst pass defenses in the NFL. The Bengals, no surprise if anyone's.
Are you not worried
game,
though that they
Jets.
proved last week they will run it down a team's throat if they're cooking? And I do have some concerns, like with May's ceiling. What happens if we get a similar script, right? And without Chase, are the Bengals going to be able to score points to force the Patriots into that? And it's the same concern I have about the Ravens-Jets game is, will the Jets be able to score, period, with Tyrod Taylor, no Garrett Wilson, a Ravens defense is getting better. I know what you're saying, and you're right. It's great matchups. Obviously those 2 QBs have Josh Allen potential like last week where, boy, I wish I'd had him in a few lineups. But I just, again, saving that money, like for instance, I think I'd rather play Caleb Williams if I'm going to spend more than Brissett, with how bad Pittsburgh is. And, don't they run a lot of man?
It's true.
You were just talking about
they do.
They're really bad versus number 1 receivers, and obviously when Odunze plays well, that's when Caleb is cooking.
I was going to say a guy I'll be talking about later. I will say with Lamar, he's had 4 25+ point games. 2 of them
3 stinkers.
Yeah, it's been an interesting. I mean, Cleveland I think is just one you want to avoid in general. Just don't play anyone against Cleveland if you can help it.
Derrick Henry said, "Not so fast, Joe Matz."
That's fair. I guess the running back's in the right spot if it's good enough. I
actually think that says that Derrick Henry is ramping up for Derrick Henry season.
But Lamar's 4 good games, 2 of them games you'd expect. The shootout against Buffalo week 1, another high score against the Lions 2 weeks later. The other 2 games, though, are, his first game actually against Cleveland. He scores 26.
Most of that came late, too.
41-17. And then his first game back against Miami, that game is 28-6. So just because it's going to be
that's a good point.
Doesn't mean I'd be off him. Now, May, I think you're right about the ceiling potentially. It's worth remembering May doesn't actually have a 300-yard passing game on this entire season.
Don't you think that's more that they're just dominating? Because he has a ton of 250 yard games.
He has 0 games under 200 yards. That's been one of my go-to bets.
Prop parlays, that's mine too.
Yeah,
I always throw May to 200 yards.
May over 200. Pick whichever receiver you think is safe to get clear his, and then Patriots win, and you're making money almost every week. Now the question is, do we actually? If you want to go with May, I think it's kind of: do you want Flacco or do you want Burrow to be back? Which one is the more likely one to make this a shootout? I don't actually think this Patriots defense is that good.
Wait a minute. There's a chance Burrow plays Sunday?
Last I had seen, there was a chance.
It makes sense. I was wondering why his pricing was so freaking
listed,
high.
He's still listed as questionable. So they have not made.
Can we just, again, Joe, while we're talking about inept fucking franchises, what are they doing? This is where you have to be the parent and say, Joe, this season, and I'm not talking about you, Joe Matz, I'm talking about Joe Burrow. Joe, you're not coming back, okay? If you want to play the last game or, 1 or 2 of the last games, but to rush back from an injury that was expected to be longer, it's insane.
There's also a chance that some people are in that building, their jobs are on the line if this team finishes 4-13.
And what's the best thing for Joe Burrow? A new GM and a new head coach.
I certainly don't disagree with, I guess at this point, both. I'll always cut the GMs a little bit of slack because Duke Tobin, who runs them, because that's probably the cheapest franchise in the NFL. They have the least to work with scouting wise. That's not their fault. But the decision to just ignore the defense.
They could hire me and you for cheap.
That is their fault.
If anybody for the Bengals is listening, I don't need one of those huge salaries. Pay me what I'm making at the city of Atlanta, and I'm there. And travel costs, obviously.
Right. I'm a PFF centered in Cincinnati. We can just go see what the PFF guys have cooking up. That'll probably be as good as what the Bengals are usually working with.
See? Yeah.
But I've never been. Zach Taylor is kind of the new why am I blanking on his name? The Packers Cowboys head coach, who the Giants are now rumored to hire.
Oh, McCarthy.
He's the new McCarthy for me, where even when McCarthy won a Super Bowl, I was like, I don't think this guy's that good. And he kept, winning 11 games.
Joe, you hated his play calling and decisions when they went to the Super Bowl. You were like, if Joe Burrow wasn't incredible, They were
Well, the
lost
defense.
in the defense.
It's another AFC North guy where it's the defense is carrying the team, and people are like, "Oh, are you coach of the year because the defense was good?" While you call the 30th ranked offensive
and you're the offensive minded,
oh my God.
coach.
It's like
all right, so we spent
Stefanski,
way too much time on QBs. I'm sorry. Let's get moving.
It's my fault.
No, it's always my fault, Joe. The running backs this week, Gibbs to me is a lock.
The only issue I have with the Lions is, well, I guess there might be enough to go around. My only thing is I'm scared about how many of them go off, and will I choose the right one or ones? I mean, it's probably multiple, in fairness.
No, I mean, it's a fair thing. That's
literally the only thing, though, because
he's
otherwise
averaging 27.8 points, Joe, his last 4, and that includes a 5.8 point performance versus the Vikings. So if you're not good at math, that basically means that he's scoring 33 points per game in 3 of his last 4. And again, your run defense, no offense, Joe, it's bad. You're allowing 150 rushing yards per game, 5.5 yards per carry. And the Lions are a team that we've seen over and over again. They'll run it up. Like, that's one thing I love about Dan Campbell. He does not take his foot off the gas. He's not somebody that if they score 28 in the first quarter, he's going to be like, well, let's slow this down. He's like, no, we're going to kick this dude while he's down. I think that's fair. Again, Gibbs has been so good. I also think that Dan Campbell, what was he doing going away from Gibbs at all in that game last week? Like, it was literally every drive was like freaking deja vu, because Gibbs would do something great. They'd move the ball a little bit, and then they'd go away from him and it'd kind of stall. So if you don't want to go Gibbs, the other expensive guy, and I talked about it a little bit earlier, it's starting to look a lot like Derrick Henry season, people. 7,600 versus the Jets, 23 points on DK last week. That's his highest total since week 1. That was, though, against the Buffalo defense that's awful versus the run. To your point, the Browns' run defense is without a doubt one of the best in the league. And don't look now, he's quietly averaging 19.36 points per game on DK over his last 5. So this is not a small sample size. And he's eclipsed 100 yards in 3 of those games, something he had not accomplished until those 3 of the last 5, since, again, that week 1 game versus Buffalo. And this is a Jets team that we were reminded they traded away Quinnen Williams when rookie Travion Henderson ran wild on them. What was that, last Thursday night? So those are the 2 expensive running backs. Real quick, Joe, before you get to that, let's get this guy's question. Spartacus the Marine, man, what's going on? My running back room, CMC, that's real good. Jukins, Henderson, Woody, Monty, B-Rob. I just traded Woody for Bucky. What are your thoughts? Straight up, it's, I think, a win for you. But more importantly, dude, if this is not a dynasty league, go ahead and trade, one more of those pieces. I really would consider doing it, because I love Bucky, like, especially now that's going to be a smaller season, because that was my only concerns with Bucky before the start of the season was, can he handle being a future back, which fairly or unfairly, the answer was no. But I do believe he's going to be really good. They're going to need to lean on that run game because, again, the Bucs just can't catch a break with receivers. And I am very high on Woody Marks. Like, I like him a lot, but this Texans offense is what it is. They're a team that's going to win by their defense. That's just the way it is. And I think Woody, like, for dynasty, is somebody I'd love to have rest of season. Again, it is what it is, but I think you win the trade, and I would consider, especially Henderson, who, like, I think that Stevenson is going to carve back out a significant portion of this run game. And I think you could get a ton for him right now. So, like, if you need a wide receiver or you want to make a move for a big tight end or something, I think you could get a big haul for him. And because you have CMC's backup, you have Monty. And again, Jukins is somebody who's going to get a ton of volume. You'd have Bucky. Like, I'm not worried about losing him. and this is just douche, man. I'm sorry to hear this. The commish who's in playoff contention keeps blocking all my trades. He let this pass because he thinks Bucky is done in redraft. Dude, if he is on Twitter, if you will send me his handle, I will put him on blast, because this is like, you're not a commish to be a Gustapa. You're a commish to run a league by rules. And like, I personally don't think you should ever veto a trade unless you think there's collusion, because in most cases, if you really look at the rosters, even trades that seem one-sided in a vacuum, yes, it's like, this is stupid. But if you look at somebody's roster, for instance, like yours, and you're freaking loaded at running back, I would trade Travion Henderson, for instance, for Marvin Harrison Jr. Or, you know what I'm saying? It's a bad example, I know, right now with them being hurt, but I'm saying a team that's not even, you know, a receiver that's, you know, at best, like kind of in that 15 to 20 range. I trade Travion Henderson in a second for him when I have that kind of depth at running back.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. It's, you know, I remember one time years ago in my league where I'm the commissioner. I mean, we moved to like, you have to vote on, because I was like, I don't want to be solely responsible for this.
Yeah, it's too much.
We had and one time we did end up voting to overturn a trade, and I like immediately after we did it, I was like, I don't think we should have done that, like, because it seemed unfair to us. But it's like,
look at that. He offered Junkins and Woody for Brown, and he blocked it.
I don't even know why that's happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately, I think, you know, they ended up, I just told the guys, I was like, just add some fucking back end guy to the trade, and I'll make sure it goes through.
Right.
And then by the end of the season, you look back on the trade and you're like, oh, it's actually totally even trade, and we're all dumbasses. And so like from that point on, I was like, never again.
Start someone's in your league over something.
And I just felt like an asshole. And because I was like, you don't block trades unless, like you said, you can prove collusion. Otherwise, it's stupid. And also, if that guy doesn't need help at wide receiver or some other position, then God help his league.
Right?
Because those running backs are insane. Unless this is like a 6-team league, like that's crazy. So good luck. You're probably going to win regardless of any advice we give you.
Wow. He said he also changed it to where it used to be that it was 4 for a veto, to where it's, I guess, just 1. So he could block the trade. I mean, this is
there's a lot of sketchy
like
stuff going on with this commissioner.
Dictator, man. No, that's no bueno. But getting back to the running backs, Joe. Again, Gibbs or Henry to me is the lock. I'm probably only playing one unless I end up having Winston in more lineups than I'm envisioning now. So where are you at though? What expensive guys? Because there's 2 other guys kind of in the lower price range that I like as well, but I think it's not going to be a 3 running back week for me. So it would probably be one of those 2, and then the other we'll talk about in a few. But what expensive guys do you like?
No, I think I'm on the same page here. Where again, you look at basically any metric anywhere, and it will tell you. Detroit Lions, really good at running the football. Giants, terrible at stopping. Again, dead last in rushing yards per carry allowed.
Weren't you telling me it's every level or something? Was the Giants the team you were telling me about? Like they can't tackle at the line of scrimmage. They can't tackle.
Pretty much, yeah. Here's the FTN charting. Power success rate. So that's, you know, 3rd and 4th, 2 or less to go, and or the goal line inside the 2.
Short yardage situations.
Yeah, short yardage, 27th. Second level, which I believe is the 5 to 10 yards. So you've just gotten past. You're now starting against the linebackers and the safeties. Where do they rank? 32nd. Actually, stuffing guys behind the line, 29th. And then open field, 10 yards or further, 31st. And only the Bills are worse, which if you watch the Bills, you're like, oh, yeah, that's.
Oh, my God. And Sonic the Hedgehog, where is he the most dangerous, Joe?
Yeah, it's problematic. And then PFF, unsurprisingly, it'll tell you the exact same stuff where only the Bengals have a worse run defense grade. And then run blocking grade, the Lions are 4th. So everything is here for I mean, honestly, I actually haven't even checked what Montgomery costs, but
he's 5,400 or 55, somewhere in that range. I considered it. He was too expensive.
50, you're in 53. I'm in. Throw everybody in there, man. I'm in.
Okay. In cash. Or are you saying like, because that's what I want to know the difference.
I think between these two, now again, there's always a chance they end up throwing for 4 touchdowns and you only get
That's
one.
why I like Gibbs, though, right?
That fucks everything up.
Gibbs could still have a big game,
a
just
huge
as a receiver.
game.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, he's the guy that I'm like, oh, fire him up. But
you're saying for $3,000 cheaper,
and
Bonnie's looking pretty good.
I'm saying play them both.
Oh, you're going bully ball.
Throw it all.
So in that case, because we're going to talk about some Lions receivers, I'm sure, right? But in that case, you would not also play the Lions receivers, right?
No, I don't think you. Yeah, you can't do that.
Gotcha.
You listen. You could talk me into. I'm just going to go. Maybe do 2
that game, right? And just go like
do
Jameis,
one where you can enter like
Slayton, 3, Theo, all the Lions,
and put all the Giants pass catchers and all the Lions running backs, and then I'll do one where you just go Jared Goff, J-Mo, St. Brown, and their tight end who actually did okay last week, whose name I don't remember because he's
not Brock Wright, who I thought would be the tight end that would do well.
Shoot, I should have written that guy's
name
down.
But nobody cares.
But yeah, the point is that guy costs nothing, and then you just go all in on the Lions pass catchers because they are set up to have a bonanza game.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, I think all of that makes a ton of sense. I mean, keep in mind when they played Baltimore and won that game 38-30, these guys combined for 59 points. These 2 running backs, and obviously, I'm not saying hey, Bankon's getting 59 points. But I'm also saying that's not impossible.
And that was with the Ravens staying with them, which, I have high hopes for the Giants of being able to put up points. I don't have high hopes of them keeping the game competitive for long.
I don't either. So, yeah, I'm totally down with that. If I had any hope in Kirk Cousins, maybe you could talk me into Bijan, but I don't. So, no. Taylor's just too expensive at $10K against a good defense. I can't do it.
They're going to have to lean on him, though, right? We're in agreement on that. You are concerned about Danny Dimes outside, cold weather.
That's certainly what I would be trying to do. Okay. Yeah. I'm absolutely trying to run it down Kansas City's throat and going from there. That's the play. But, yeah, good defense. Do I feel awesome
what is the
about
saying, Joe?
10K?
You can wish in one hand and poop in the other and see which fills up first.
I don't know if I've heard that. I certainly haven't used that one.
You've never heard that? It's actually, shit.
You've probably said it before.
But I can't believe that you've never heard that you can hope in one hand and shit in the other and see which fills up first.
Yeah. And then I think,
wish.
Like I said, that Jets defense,
it's bad.
It's bad. It is better against the run and the pass. But the fact that I just don't, there's the whole second half, I'll be surprised if this is ever a 1-score game. It might not even be a 2-score game the whole second half. So, could Lamar and Zay go off in the first half? Certainly.
Yeah, of course.
But it seems like the second half, I assume, is the Derrick Henry show. So you can talk me into that one. If we were gonna get the Travion, he's leading the way the whole time, I'd be in at 6,700 against the Bengals. The problem is Stevenson.
He's going to be so high on too.
Full participant today in practice for Stevenson. So that makes that one tougher. Although that's honestly, it's a cheaper version of the Lions play that
I was going to ask you, do you have the balls to play Stevenson in cash? Because I don't, but I do really like him if I'm doing MME or, say like a $10 contest with buddies. Like, I think it's a great pivot because I do think that he's one of those coaches, man. Vrabel is that he's laid it out all along. Like Henderson's definitely earned a bigger piece of the pie, but if all those fumbles didn't prevent, right, like Stevenson from being off the field more, it's obviously a pass blocking like deal. I think overall is the biggest situation, right? It's almost got to be.
Yeah, the thing too, because I think you got to throw someone from the Patriots in your lineup somewhere. I believe Aaron Schatz wrote this week that this is to this point of the season, through 11 weeks, this is the worst defense they've tracked in the DVOA era, which goes back now to they've gone back. Every year they add more seasons with the play-by-play data. goes back to 1978. So from the start of the 16-game regular season when they changed the passing rules, this is potentially the worst defense, at least by their metric, of all time.
I love it, Joe.
This
That's
defense
a great
is
stat.
so bad. And I wish Jamar Chase was playing in this game, because then I think there'd be so much more opportunity for this to be a low-key shootout. But I still think the possibility is there. So I think you want someone. Is it one of these backs? Again, I think Diggs could go off. It's not like the Bengals are covering people either. But again, the worst run defensive grade per PFF is the Cincinnati Bengals. So
they're horrible. I think they give up the most points for running backs too, right? On DK,
throw either guy in. Yes, that is correct. So unsurprisingly.
So who else you like then? Where else you going? Because for me, it's Aaron Jones. Revenge game. I love that narrative. But more importantly, this is becoming his backfield again. His 16 carries last week, most the season.
Almost double his high.
That's what I was just about to say. He had 9 the 2 previous weeks, which, by the way, that was his basically high for the season at that point. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, this guy's a lot better. He's had at least 2 catches in every game since he's returned from injury. He has 3 or more. I think he's had 3 exactly the last 2 weeks. And then what I just like about him is he cares. He said it last week, like how much last year going into his first game at Green Bay, how much he loves that crowd and, loved his time there, but he wants to make them pay for letting him go. He wanted to be a Packer for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And he went out and had over 100 total yards. Just missed a touchdown. I remember this because I was very bitter because I was on the same play last year. If he'd had the touchdown, he would have been a really good play. Without it, it was just an okay play. I think he is, along with Travis Etienne, the safest guys in the 5K range this week.
The other guy I would throw in, and it's dependent on Josh Jacobs, would be Emmanuel Wilson.
Oh yeah, but I'm just looking at right now, Josh Jacobs, unless his legs get chopped off, it seems like he's going to play and gut his way through it. That's the problem.
I know Green Bay, they don't have wins to spare right now.
That's the other problem.
I keep forgetting they're in second place, right? Because of the tie, they're ahead of Detroit. I forget.
Correct.
What the
right
order
now
is
they
there.
are. Yep.
Right. So obviously tight race.
The Bears are leading that division. Just
I don't believe in the Bears at all, really. But the Bears are in another winnable game this week.
They're favored in 2 games now, rest of the season. Remember a few weeks ago, it was 0.
It keeps changing. It's staying it keeps increasing or staying the same. They win. And then it's like, well, Aaron Rodgers might not play.
Yep.
So the Bears are favored again.
Here we come.
So, look, they could be the Vikings from a couple years ago who went, 13-4? I think it was 14-3. And then lost to
last year with Darnold, right? They went 14.
No.
Oh.
last year they were also, I think.
They were 13-4 last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, the Kirk Cousins team that lost to the Giants.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yep.
That team
Giants
was
beat. Yeah.
Yeah, because that team was a legitimately bad team. DVOA, I think, had them as the 26th best team. And they went 9-0 in 1-score games. And I was like, I don't think the
Bears
Giants
are, I think, 5-1 right now in those either or games.
Yeah. The Bears.
Chiefs, by the way, 1-4 after going 11-1 last year. So something you always talk about, that normally regresses. When a team, no matter how well coached, whatever, typically if you win a bunch of close games one year, it's going to come back to the norm the next year.
Right. And the fact that it's happening to Mahomes and Reed is proof of concept. Because actually, if you look outside of this year, this obviously is counting last year when they had the insane one, but they've won 70% of their 1-score games over his career going to this season. So again, if you look,
this is the best receiving core he's had since the prime Tyreek Hill and Kelsey era.
But so those things do reverse. But so the Packers don't have wins to spare, but man, they're going to be in a short week because they play on Thanksgiving against the Lions. Fair. And I just think if you're the Packers
trying to save Jacobs is what you're saying.
Yeah. Even if he suits up, I would be trying to go Wilson as much as possible. Because I'm just going, how many points do we have to score to win this game?
No, that makes Joe, you're talking me into
and then the Lions are coming up.
Yep.
But obviously pay attention to that because it's probably not a cash game play if Jacobs suits up. And if he's not, then Wilson goes into probably every single lineup I do. So that's
what about
like
one other
Minnesota's
guy I want to
horrible,
mention? Alvin Kamara, who my Falcons run defense is absolutely awful.
It's a good one.
It's so bad. And with Kirk Cousins, no London, the issue is he's going to get volume. Like, because it looks like, he's going to play. He's doing the same thing he's been doing since like week 5 with his, practice statuses and everything.
Right. It's 22 carries last week. So I don't know how much you're going to
He gets 22 touches, which I think is very likely versus my Falcons with the game script I think that's coming. I think he could be a real boom. Now, that is a risk, though, because this is not the Kamara of old. If he looked anything like the Kamara of old, he would be a lock for me this week. He's not, because he's just not that dude, but his price is at a point where if he can have that 16 to 20 point game, which has kind of been his peak performance so far this year, it's a good play. And it, again, just saves more money for me to put some of these higher price receivers, have Jamar Gibbs, et cetera, McBride. I'm trying to save every dollar to get there's about 4 or 5 expensive guys, upper, tier guys that I want to squeeze in if I can this week.
Right. The other thing there too is, again, it's the Kirk Cousins Falcons offense, which post 6-2 start last year, and even then it was not always firing on all cylinders, has been horrific.
His last 4 starts, Joe, are awful. Go back and look at the game. The last 2 games he started last year before being benched for Penix, and then technically he only has 1 start, but the 2 games that he's played considerable amount of snaps this year, like, oh my God, I can't believe we paid him $100 million guaranteed.
And then, the guy who eats zone coverage alive, Drake London, he's not going to be out there. Yep. So you're assuming probably don't need to score a lot of points. And outside of last week, this Falcons defense, good against the pass, still 10th in DVOA.
Yeah, very good versus bad.
Terrible against the run.
Awful.
And you're starting a rookie quarterback. So the obvious move is run the ball 20 times. And again, Kamara's at a point in his career, you're not like trying to preserve him for next season or whatever. You're probably not even going to be good for at least 2 more seasons in the best case scenario.
Yep.
So you don't care about any of that. You just want to win whatever games you can. So run the ball 20 times with Kamara and get us some fantasy points here.
Love it. All right. Receivers. I can't do Amon-Ra St. Brown. I want to because he's so good man zone splits. But
yes, number 1 guy against man yards per route run.
I can play Jameson for a lot cheaper.
That is true.
And he's all of a sudden scored 16.6 points or more in 4 straight, touchdown in his last 3. And in the 2 games since Campbell took over, 14 targets, 10 receptions, 200 yards, 46 DK points. And then again, you talked about St. Brown, which is impressive, but Williams ranked 6 or higher in yards per route run, target rate, target separation, fantasy points per target, and fantasy points per route run facing man this season. St. Brown, again, it's not anything other than just his price.
Yeah,
and it's how many miles.
And the fact that the Giants might not keep up either.
That's the deal. Because otherwise I would play him. So I think Jameson is somebody you should definitely consider. But Rashee Rice is my favorite play this week at wide receiver. He finally had a clunker, and that stunk. But let's be fair to him. That's against a really good Denver defense. But he's facing a Colts defense that runs zone at one of the higher rates in the NFL. Let's go over Rice. I'll be the man zone split guy here.
All right.
Rice, yards per route run, 0.97 versus man, jumps to 2.75 versus zone. His target rate goes from 25% versus man to 33% versus zone. And his first 3 target share, which I think is really big, goes from 20% versus man to 34.5% versus zone. And you, being the smart person that you are, point out when we go over this every week, teams face a lot more zone. So your numbers should not be higher in most cases if you're an elite receiver versus zone than they are versus man, just because there's so many more of them, right? And the more you do something, obviously big plays are going to have less of an effect, right? Because it's just going to bring it down. Like if you have an 80-yard touchdown, if you only have 20 receptions, you're going to have a big, yards per reception. But once you have 60 and you don't throw a few more in there, it's going to come way down. I think that he's going to be their offense because Kansas City still can't run the freaking ball. And the Colts play the exact kind of defense where they can make Rashee Rice basically their running back by extension, where he's going to get a bunch of those like screen passes, just past the line of scrimmage, etc. And 7,700 is at a point that I just think it's just in the right price range where it's just an automatic click for me.
I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, that game's a fascinating one to me because
huge
you could throw
implications.
Well, yeah, it's huge implications. Yeah, could the Colts win this game? Very good chance. Like their chances
Chiefs are dead.
Being the
if they lose this game, Chiefs are not making the playoffs.
I still don't know if I would, because the
problem
Chiefs,
is, Joe, they'd be 5.
They could always win out,
but they would have lost
they could win
to
out.
3 of the teams in front of them.
That's
so even winning out may not get them in the playoffs.
Well, I mean, the thing I'll say about the Colts though is, things have to go bad. Like if the Colts win this game, they basically no longer matter to the Chiefs, because if the Colts win, I think they're going to win the division. If they beat Kansas City, they have a tough schedule down the stretch.
I'm gonna say the Texans are coming on,
and even the Jags, who have a pretty easy
schedule
you're right.
compared
Jackson's to the other two.
Jags have a very
also
easy
right
schedule.
there. But to me, if the Colts win this game, they should win the division. They no longer matter to the Chiefs. Obviously, the Chiefs win, then the Colts might matter, and you have a tiebreaker. Great. My thing, though, is just I can't rule these guys winning 5 straight or 6 straight and just being like, we're going to the playoffs. I agree. You've lost to the Broncos. You've lost to the Chargers. You've lost to the Bills, who look like they probably are.
Something's wrong with Pat
Mahomes,
now. Joe. Like, I still can't believe they lost that game. That was the exact game that, like, is why I'd always point to Mahomes as the guy I want. I don't care, what he's done recently. Sure. Like, when it matters, he's going to get it done.
Playoffs, you need the one game.
He got outplayed by both freaking Knicks in the fourth quarter and let a huge game get away from him. It was, to me, one of the most shocking things I've seen this season. And I think they just don't, they're just not good enough on the edges. And I don't mean like, the edge rush and stuff. I mean, literally like, the last couple of years, they were good in so many places, like elite, like they didn't get credit, right? Because obviously like Mahomes and Kelsey and those guys and, Jones get all the credit. And it just feels like they've just kind of slipped in some of that stuff. Like the defense is still good, but not nearly as good as it's been the last 2 years. And Mahomes is just not the same guy for whatever reason, throwing the ball down the field. And I don't really have an answer for it. Because again, if you watch the games, this Chiefs offense has so much freaking speed at receiver and guys are open down the field. He just seems to be just missing them on a lot of like these big throws, and their line's been pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, part of it, I just don't think Xavier Worthy, despite the speed, is like a true.
And he's been banged up in his
he's been banged up. Yeah. And I think Rice is the same, actually. I just think their receivers are guys who are built to beat you more horizontally than vertically. Like they're fast, but that's more their game. These are not like, for all the speed that Worthy has, he's not Tyreek Hill. He doesn't.
Thornton is a good vertical threat. Like he really is.
All right. Well, I mean, I just don't think the quality of receiver compared to like the best downfield Chiefs.
Joe, I'm sorry. I'm again putting us down a rabbit hole where we're an hour and 3 minutes into the show.
They also have a run game that churns out 3 or 4 yards at a time and never has big runs.
That's
problematic.
No, that's
so they have to manufacture stuff down the field, and I think because those guys don't beat you so much vertically, teams are playing more man defense because they're just not as afraid of this.
You're right.
Team.
They're not having to go into that cover 2 shell, right? That they used to like. It literally was like almost invented.
That you had to do it, and then Kelsey would murder you.
Yep.
Because
just pick your poison.
You can't cover Kelsey in zone. What real quick on Jameson Williams?
Sure. Give me more stuff because I like him this week a lot.
Jake Seeley from The Athletic had this bit where minimum of 25 targets. He has the second most fantasy points per target when facing cover 1. Only the Browns run cover 1 more than the New York Giants.
Hello.
So yeah, all in on the JMO play.
Can we just say too, real quick, victory lap for me and you have always been big believers on JMO. There was a lot of people dunking on him at the start of the season, saying, you know what I mean? Like, see, he's not that good. And I'm like, he's not being targeted. It's not that he's not that good. And he has proven in the last 6 weeks, he is that freaking good.
I mean, the other thing too is it's like, well, he doesn't get targeted. Well, he's got Amon-Ra St. Brown on his team.
Yeah. He's not better than St. Brown. I say it all the time. He's a different weapon, but I think you put him in a situation where he's the guy. Like, say he was in Atlanta right now and getting Drake London volume. Oh my God, the games that he would put up.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants might enable this to happen, but when you have that much, you got Gibbs, you got Montgomery. Most of the season you had Laporta. That's a lot of mouths to feed, and you're not going to be able to feed them every single week. And the other thing to also remember is this is a Lions home game, which means it's indoors. We should always mention this time of year with Jared Goff.
Especially Goff's about to have a bunch of outdoor games coming up down the stretch.
So, yeah, two guys that I definitely want to mention in this.
Yeah.
I guess upper to lower mid-tier. T. Higgins, 7,100. I think the only thing to fear here would be, all right, Christian Gonzalez.
No Chase.
Is he going to – now he's shadowed because before you'd have T. Higgins against lesser – and also smaller cornerbacks.
I can make you feel a little better about that, Joe. Yeah. Same concern with Drake London. The Falcons found ways to get him off of Gonzalez through motion and other stuff. They still threw it to him 13 times. I think that's a pretty easy number for Higgins to hit with no Chase.
Right.
And
he
had a
huge game of the season. Yeah. Because smartly moved him around.
Yep.
And you look the last month, he's shadowed Judy, he's shadowed London, he's shadowed Ibuka. The London game, like you said, pretty much all the damage was when he wasn't on him. But if you're smart enough, you move him around when they're in zone, you'll get a good matchup. Judy didn't do anything, but you also have to remember
never do anything. And Dylan
team that Jerry Judy is on, that doesn't even count. And Ibuka actually just had a good game.
Yeah.
So, and certainly we've seen like
Pats run a bunch of man too, right? And I know Higgins is a man eater.
Exactly. He is the man eater. Again, 0.67 fantasy points per route run, up from 0.26. So he's more than doubling it. Target rate also more than doubles from 14 to 29%.
Hello.
And that's with Jamar Chase on the field.
Oh, yeah.
So
very good point.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is for all the, I guess Christian Gonzalez has missed some games this year and everything. But New England, 76 yards per game. 2 number 1 receivers.
Yeah, it's their run defense is what's elite. Their pass defense is gettable.
The run defense is good, but the pass defense, 26th in yardage given up to number 1 wide receivers, 28th or dead last in DVOA.
Ooh.
So again, in part because if you're smart, you can do things like the Falcons did.
DVOA versus the pass or number 1 wide receivers, Jeff?
Number 1 wide receivers. They're 28th against the pass. They're bad against the pass, but they are dead last against number 1s. So very in on T. Higgins. And then as mentioned earlier,
Rome
Odunze.
Give it to me, Jim.
Another guy literally exactly doubles 0.32 to 0.64 fantasy points per route run.
Yes.
Target rate jumps by 5%. We want him against man coverage. Steelers, 4th in man coverage rate. Again, like at this point, that's kind of just what I would be doing with the Odunze is, find where you can look. I always use PFF, but wherever you can, look up what the opposing defense's splits are.
Yep.
If they run a lot
You've been on this for over a year with him. I got to give you credit. Like, I remember you last year talking about anytime he's facing man,
and did you remember who I said one of the teams worse than the New York Giants was on?
Pittsburgh was dead last, right? Versus
Pittsburgh, 86 yards per game, 10 targets per game per FTN starting. And obviously, maybe it varies a little week to week, but overall, I think we would all agree Rome Odunze is the number 1 receiver in this offense. So fire him up. And obviously
that changes week to week, to be honest.
And obviously, again, like I said, find a Patriot to play against the Bengals. If you want it to be Diggs, who's coming off a good couple games, throw in Diggs at 6,500 if you like him more. If you want him cheaper than T, if you don't trust the Bears because the Bears are weird sometimes, fire him up. Or again, Zay Flowers now facing a Jets team that doesn't have any good corners because Sauce is gone. There's a lot of options in this like 6 to 7K range.
Right. So let me ask,
like we both said, Jameson at 5,700 though.
Oh yeah.
Wow. I want him And actually, shoot, might talk myself into the just Jameson Devonta.
There was a few other guys I want to talk about. Devontae Smith was one of the first. Cowboys run zone at one of the highest rates in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I know you tell me, again, because you're the man zone guy, that man defenses, you play A.J. Brown. Zone defenses, you play Devontae. Again, a little concerned because of the way Hurts is playing. And again, I think that this week, more than any I can remember, there are so many guys 4K, like under 5K, that I think you should play in cash. Like, again, I talked about Darius Slayton. I can't pronounce his name, but we were just talking about the Patriots and their struggles against the pass. Andrea, how do you say his last name? Usavis. Anyway, this is a guy
Jokovic. I think it's not Jokovic, but it's like, shoot, I can't remember how to say it now.
Since week 5, he scored 13.2 points and only 1.5, but then 7.9 and 18 week 9, 5 week 11. He has been the clear benefactor when those two receivers have, one of them has missed the last 2 years. We talked about Michael Wilson. Obviously, he's a good option. I like Dortch even better just because, again, the Jags have seemed to struggle more with interior receivers than receivers on the outside, and Dortch is in the slot more than any of the other Cardinals receivers this week. And again, he's cheaper. But you made such a freaking good case about I'm sorry, there was one other guy, Cedric Tillman. He is 3,700, and then Calvin Austin is also 3,700. And actually, I'm sorry, Luther Burden right there is also 3,600. Fantastic matchups for those guys. I think the Browns are going to be in a game that they can actually control. And I think that
you think they can? Well, I guess defensively, okay.
Correct. And I think that actually raises the ceiling of somebody like Tillman and even Judy to a certain extent, the tight ends, because they'll be able to just kind of plot, play action. And Tillman was great in play action last year. Calvin Austin, again, versus a Chicago secondary that gives up big plays left and right. And I actually like it if Rudolph plays. We've seen this with Rudolph last year with Tennessee and other teams. He can throw the moon ball a little bit like Darnold down the field, and that is, what Austin does best. But ultimately, like I said, Dortch, and I can't even pronounce his freaking name, but Isevich, Yoshi is what I know that people call him to make it easy.
It is a Yoshi.
One of those two will be in my lineups this week.
Oh, one thing I did want to add real quick too on
on
the Devonta again.
Yes.
Is that Hurts targets the receivers more when he gets pressured and the tight end less, which is probably not what you'd expect.
Wow.
And again, A.J. Brown goes nuclear. His fantasy points per route run gets cut into quarters.
Oh, yeah, when he plays
zone. And this is also a guy who a week ago told you if you have him in fantasy, get rid of him. So
yeah, I think he just said on a podcast too that his quarterbacks definitely regress this year.
Well, I mean, I don't think he's
wrong. Yeah,
but
I don't think that's what he should be saying as his teammate.
But as a Giants fan who's always loved AJ Brown,
like, let it implode, I'm all in. Otherwise they're going to win another Super Bowl.
Yeah, I enjoyed the Nick Foles one as a U of A grad.
Yeah, no, that was.
I enjoyed last year's to a degree because I didn't want Kansas City to win again.
Well, I didn't either.
But no, I can't. I can't do this again. I don't want to see
enough is enough. We can't take
blow it up,
AJ.
No more,
Joe.
Blow it up. So yeah, very, very in on Devonta Smith. Yeah, like I said,
Jags he's 57. Is that right?
He's 56, so he's $100 cheaper than JMO.
That's a good price, though, man.
I might just be throwing the two of them in.
That might be them two in a doomsday. I mean, you can get the three of them for
it's not bad.
It's not bad. 19K. I like that. Let's do tight ends. We'll just breeze our defense and we'll get out of here because we've done what we like to do.
If you have,
go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry, Joe.
No, I'm going tight end. Trey McBride.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead,
if you're doing the Jacoby Brissett, I don't care. Do whatever you want, Wilson and Dortch. I'm down with either. You have You have to play McBride.
Tell him, Joe.
You have no choice. This is 100% the play you have to make. Again, Jag, terrible against ones, also terrible against tight ends. 71 yards per game. Only the Seahawks, Colts, which there's some Travis Kelce stuff in there, and Bengals have been worse. So also, again, make sure you have a New England Patriot on your team. Maybe that's Hunter Henry. But yeah, 71 yards, 9 targets per game given up to tight ends. Only the Bengals give up more targets to tight ends than the Jags. And back-to-back 30-point games. Why would we go anywhere else? What would be the point?
Can I give you some stats to show how much he loves Trey McBride?
Dude,
5 games.
Make me more excited.
59 targets, 42 receptions. This is the one that to me is just nuts.
Yeah.
6 touchdowns in 5 games with Brissett. He had 1 in the 5 games with Kyler Murray. He's been tight end 2 or better 4 of the last 5 weeks. Tight end 1, by the way, 3 times. Tight end 6 was his worst finish. And that Jags D, to just elaborate a little bit more on it, over their last 7 games, tight ends have caught 49 passes and scored 7 touchdowns. So to your point, don't overthink it. Go look at the receivers. For 6,800, there's not a receiver that I feel any better about than I do Trey McBride, especially because, again, the Cardinals' defense is so bad.
There's like 3 receivers total, I think I feel better.
Bingo. 100% with
and those guys are not costing you 6,800.
No, it's like, again, it's almost like he's like CMC, I feel, at this point. Like I should have known last week. You said it on the show, or excuse me, was that 2 weeks ago? When did we talk about that where you said that? Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago, right? When they played Arizona.
I might have said it both weeks.
Okay. Well, I know that you said, though, that he had scored like multiple touchdowns versus Arizona. And I think it was like 4 out of his last 5. No. And then, of course, he went out and did it again. And I was like, look at you, Joe Brain.
Yeah.
The one guy that may benefit from Kirk Cousins, Kyle Pitts.
And no Drake London. So
right. Because
we
had a sample of this. It's one of my least favorite weeks of the year. It's the Falcons got drubbed by the Miami Dolphins 30-6. But Kyle Pitts had his most effective fantasy day all season. Maybe not in points. I think he had 1 game that he scored more, but 9 targets, 9 receptions. Kirk Cousins can't throw the ball down the field, despite us drafting, again, Kyle Pitts 4th overall because he, quote unquote, had wide receiver, big play capability. They don't throw it down the field to him at all. They haven't done that in his entire time as a Falcon. Everything's underneath, which that's basically all Cousins can do at this point. And New Orleans really struggles, against the pass at times and tight ends. And I have no confidence in Darnell Mooney. I don't understand how last year I was like, oh my God, I can't believe how good this guy is. And we were able to basically, steal him for a very manageable contract, to this year, like I said, against Miami, who is worse against the pass than this team. He saw 4 targets and I think caught 1 pass. So I don't see like Kadarius Hodge and Darnell Mooney and these guys getting covered with targets. I think it's going to be Kyle Pitts. My only concern is if Atlanta can run the ball, I could see a huge volume game for Bijan and Algier, and that would be maybe the one way that, Pitts doesn't get a ton of volume. But at his price, if he catches 6 passes, he's probably going to hit, his 3x number. So I still think he's worth a look.
No, yeah, I think absolutely. If as long as you can just trust Kirk Cousins to complete 15 passes in this game,
not a lot, but I
like half of them could end up going to Kyle Pitts. So, I mean, again, though, I think my favorite tight end play is going double tight end. Give me the McBride, Hunter Henry doubleheader.
I was hoping we were going to have the 2 tight ends together. We're disagreeing about this one. Go ahead and do Hunter Henry, and I'll tell you the other one I was going to give.
I mean, again, the simplest thing is just
the 30-second versus
play the 2 tight ends who are playing the teams that give up the most targets to tight ends, and have Brissett, who's just mind melded with McBride, and then Drake May, who might be the MVP of the league throwing to you. Like, and it's going to cost me $3,900 to get Hunter Henry in there. It's the same thing for me, where I look and go, hey, I can't even get a running back for less than 4,000. And if I get a receiver less than 4,000, like, yeah, certainly
Calvin dumpster diving.
Yeah, those guys could have big games. That I wouldn't be shocked. Like, there's a reason you talked about them. But, and I granted, I'll give you, Hunter Henry hasn't had a huge game. He's just been kind of churning out a lot of 7s and 8s and 9s the last few weeks, or the last couple months, really. But
you're not concerned. Isn't his cap, though, like 12 points this season? Isn't that the most points he scored in a game?
Well, I mean, he has one 29-point game.
Was that the first week of the year?
That was the third week against the Steelers.
Third week. Okay. I missed that one. But the rest of them, I'm right? He's just been like 8 to 12 points every week.
11.9 is his highest otherwise besides that game. But
not
again,
really any clunkers either, right?
I think he had one like 2 weeks ago. But otherwise, it's a lot of 7s and 8s. But here's the thing. How many of those weeks did he play the Cincinnati Bengals?
0.
Because you know who gives up again, I just talked about the Bengals and the Jags give up the most targets per FTM to tight ends.
Right.
You know who's 30th? The Pittsburgh Steelers, who he scored 29 points against.
Well, I was just gonna say, if you remember, the Steelers had 3 different freaking tight ends catch a touchdown versus Cincinnati in the same game.
So I mean, I guess that would also, be an argument for find the Bears tight end. Is Kmet back, or is it just
he is back, unfortunately.
All right, so that makes that one harder to predict. So yeah, just go.
No, you're missing the guy though. He's $100 cheaper, and it's Mark Andrews, $3,800 versus the Jets.
That's
don't
fair.
Look now, but old man Andrews has scored 4 times in his last 3 games, averaging 14 points per in that stretch. This is the same Andrews. I just want to remind people, because I forgot. I called him Wash at the beginning of last year, and he said, "Oh yeah, Keith, I'm going to score a touchline in 10 of my last 12
every single game."
And it seems to be happening again, right? Because don't forget, Lamar missed, like a 4-week, 5-week, period. And you start adding it up. Andrews is now, I think, caught a touchdown, and it's like 15 of his last 20 games. With Lamar, he's facing a Jets defense that's in the bottom third versus tight ends. I think we're overlooking him this week. I'll admit I overlooked him. Like, I couldn't believe it. I was going through it, did not originally list him, and then I really started diving into his recent games and stuff. And then I go, didn't he have a good finish to last year too? And I'm going, man, like, that's a 3,800 play with potential to me to have 15, 20 points all day.
I know I've talked about this on one of our preseason pods, but ESPN has their wide receiver tight end analytics. And if you go the last 5 years and you just go to their open score, because they rate you on open, at the catch point, and yak. If you look at the top 10 tight end scores for open over the last 5 years, you get 1 season of Dalton Schultz, 1 of George Kittle, 2 Travis Kelce's back in 21 and 22, not surprisingly. Dalton Kincaid this year.
Wow.
And the other 5 are Mark Andrews every single year.
Wow.
Now, this is his worst year, but it's still in the top 10 for the last 5 years on their tight end. Open.
Wow.
So, whatever, he's not.
Who gave that great stat? Where was that from? That's great stuff, Joe.
That's ESPN's analytics. If you just put ESPN wide receiver analytics, you Google it, it'll come up. Click on it.
Doing that tonight.
You can sort back to 2017 to now, and you can.
Awesome.
Sort by just wide receivers, tight ends. You can even do running backs for whatever that's.
So
yeah,
you're on board.
I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I really like one of these. Again, I'm all in. McBride's going in every single lineup, at least certainly every single Brissett lineup, which is going to be most of my lineups.
What about Brenton Strange? He is 3,400. It's looking more and more like no. He's not, but they listed him as questionable. Last week, they had already ruled him out by this time. I read one report that if they had to guess, they're leaning toward he will play Sunday, but we will definitely know by Saturday. If he's cleared, that's also, to me, a very good matchup. Remember, no Brian Thomas, right? Like, the Jags need help, and he is somebody that, over the last year, when he plays, he's heavily targeted. So would you consider him for cash, or is that just an MME play because of the other guys? I really love Noah Fant until we found out Mike Gesicki was coming back. And now it's just like, I don't know what's going to happen.
He's probably more of an MME play for me.
Okay.
You can talk me. I mean, listen, if you need the money and you're getting your Lions all over the place, they're all expensive,
right?
Then sure, I think that's a reasonable play. But in general, I'm going to look for some of these other tight ends. And we kind of, I forgot to go again. Theo Johnson, if you're going to do,
right? Yeah.
If you're doing the Jameis play again, I think it's him and Slayton are the two guys I'm primarily targeting because again, like Wan'Dale is maybe the safe play because he's usually going to get his targets every single week. But I'm not going to pay $100 less to get Wan'Dale. I'm not going to do it to save 100 versus Devonta Smith or 200 versus JMO. Those are not decisions I'm going to make. I'm taking those guys every time. So if you're doing the Jameis Winston dumpster dive with the Giants because they're going to be throwing 30 passes in the second half, go Slayton or go Theo Johnson. So a lot of cheap tight end options to pair with the Trey McBride play. And I love it. On defense,
let's go straight to it. Let's do it.
I was going to assume we have probably the same defense at the 2,500 or less that we both would go with.
Vikings.
I was going to say the Saints.
Oh, let's go. So you're betting on Cousins being awful.
Yes.
I'm betting on.
I will make that bet.
I think Green Bay's offense is awful. And Brian Flores is very good at scheming up ways. And I don't know how Green Bay with a hobbled Jacobs and again, like they're just not the same passing attack. If you look like since the injury, which remember was early in the second quarter, I think they've scored like 34 points in the 2.5 games. It's not good. And I like Minnesota because they get sacks, right? To where I don't see Atlanta throwing it a lot if they, have to, which then you are relying probably on the turnovers, right? The defense I want to play is Cleveland if I can get up to 2,900. It's the dream scenario where you have a defense that is, to me, very reasonably priced against Geno Smith, who, Geno was effective in Seattle because they would run, play action, and that's what Geno's very good at. In Vegas, Pete Carroll's like, let's just let drunk Geno out of the the building. I mean, it's literally like the Jets all over again, where he's just throwing it all over the place. They're throwing it a ton, and that's a terrible idea with him.
Yeah.
So that's like that. Basically, the two defenses. I did consider the Saints, so absolutely, especially. And
I will say, Jordan Love this year, PFF grade drops from 94 to 51. Kept clean versus under pressure. Turnover worthy plays.
How's he versus the blitz?
Versus the blitz, he's actually been good against the blitz.
That's a little concerning. Vikings do blitz 2% of the time. So I guess if they're not getting pressure and blitzing right, that's a problem.
Then you're getting torched.
Yeah.
So under pressure, 7 turnover-worthy plays on 102 attempts versus 3 on 208. So literally half the attempts, more than double the turnover-worthy plays. But it's not blitzed. The teams have been more effective against him. So it's the classic Flores thing. You're going to play with fire and you're going to see what happens. And when your quarterback's JJ McCarthy, that's what you should do with your defense because you can't just bank on the other team fucking up. You got to go force it to happen.
I couldn't imagine how frustrating it would be to be a Vikings fan going, we had Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold in the building. I think that's a really talented roster.
It's brutal,
like a really talented roster. And they're just so capped by, rookie QB. So those are the defenses.
I'm with you. If you have the money, it's the Browns are the play. Otherwise, I think you look at the Saints and Vikings, you kind of pick which one you like more. Because all the teams beneath them, I just think maybe the Colts. If you just are like, I'm out on Kansas City,
but
this can happen.
Not doing it. I'm with you. I'm still scared of them.
The bottom 4 are those. I literally don't have the money to do anything else.
Yep.
Maybe I get lucky and there's a touchdown by the special teams or there's a pick 6 or something because it's 4 awful defenses going against good offenses.
I mean, Tennessee, I feel like is the one most likely to do that because maybe, the bad Sam Darnold, like I said, has been unlocked.
And that actually might be the most competent of those defenses.
That's what I'm saying. Like Tennessee's defense is not bad, and Simmons is back. So I'm going to leave you with this, Joe, before we get out of here because we're about to hit the 1.5 hour mark. I went for your New York Detroit extravaganza. We got Winston at QB. Let's just start with the Lions Giants players, and I'll fill in the rest for you.
Okay. All right.
Got Winston, Slayton from the Giants, Gibbs, St. Brown, and Williams from the Lions. Also threw in Etienne Jr., Mark Andrews, and your boy Roma Dunze, and was able to afford the Browns in that lineup. So you can actually, if you want to go down to either the Saints or the Vikings, as we discussed, that would give me actually $400 to play with. I could move up to Kyle Pitts at tight end. I could go up to $6,500 for the flex. So it is doable. But Joe, I hate that I missed last week, but there is nothing I enjoy more than talking ball with you.
That's why we went 90 minutes today because we had to make up.
People have no idea that if we had our way and it was just like unlimited and we knew people would like listen and enjoy it, dude, it would be like they'd be like, "Is this a marathon? Did we miss? Are they doing it for charity?" It's like, no, they just haven't spoken like 4 days and they're talking about this week's slate. So, but it is. I mean, what I love about this is I hope it's this way with the listeners and not the opposite, that we just spent an hour and a half. It felt like it was like 10 minutes for me. So I hope everybody rocks. Go check out the Fantasy Six Pack stuff. I hope plug the movie thing that you're doing because I love reading your reviews and stuff. Do you post that both on Twitter or is that just your Facebook?
It'll happen again.
Did you hear me, Joe?
No, I lost you for a sec.
Okay. What I said was, dude, plug that. Do you put your movie stuff? Is that on your Twitter or is it just on Facebook? Because like I saw recently you posted about, I think you wanted to see 52 new movies this year. You just saw the recent Brandon Fraser one.
Yeah.
I enjoy your reviews
check
and
out
opinions on it.
Rental Family. Go check it out. It's
so where can they find like the stuff that you post about? Is that just your Facebook or do you do it on Twitter? I should do
more of it on Twitter as well, but it's mostly my Facebook and Instagram. But I'll start trying to do more of that stuff on Twitter because I enjoy talking about movies and TV as much as I do football, which is to say
it's another reason why me and Joe have 3-hour phone conversations. That's and my wife's looking at me like, are you in love
breaking
with this
down how we could have fixed the How I Met Your Mother final season for the third time.
Oh my God. That's always one of my favorite. It's like, and another thing. But check out all the amazing stuff on fantasy6pack.net. And me and Joe are just about to have a probably 30-minute conversation about the new Apple TV show, Fluberous. And it's only going to be 30 minutes because Joe's only seen the debut episode and not all four like I have. It would be much longer. But check out all the great stuff on fantasy6pack.net. I'll be there Sunday morning, answer your start sit and going over my final DFS plays. And if we don't see you, happy Turkey Day, everybody. Talk soon. Peace.